Thank you. Good morning, afternoon. So my name is David Phillips. I run Brand 316. Brand 316 is a Christian prison ministry focused on lowering recidivism. We train inmates while they are incarcerated with life and practical skills, with the goal of helping them reintegrate back into society. We work with inmates in several states and federal prisons. We also are working at the Wichita Work Release Center. There's 250 inmates there. That's right across the street from the Entrust Bank. Upon release, we have a home in Delano where people that are part of our program can go to, which is a safe and stable environment. Did you know that 1 out of every 4 Americans has a criminal record? It sticks with you. The stigma of incarceration sticks with you from the day that you are arrested for the rest of your life. When you think about the criminal justice system, usually it's about 3 groups of people, and these are the general thoughts. The first is you trust the system. You know it has problems, very few problems. You trust the prosecutors. You think it's fair. It's not perfect, but it's close. Group 2, you have no trust in the system. You think it has major flaws, target specific groups, and really anyone in there, most people in there aren't getting a fair shake. Group 3, you generally trust the system. You know it has several flaws, but little can be done to fix it, and quite frankly, it has little to do with your life, with a little asterisk, until it does. I believe that all viewpoints point to forgiveness and facilitating. If you trust the system, then you need to give us a second chance with reintegration. If you believe that the system has given us a just sentence, and that sentence then means that we paid our debt to society, then give us that second chance. If you do not trust the system, you know that we need every single ounce of help that we can get. If you think little can be done, I am telling you there is so much that can be done, and I want to leave you guys with a few things at the end of this that you can actually take action on today to start making a difference. First off, I also think it's actually important to mention for people that aren't involved in the criminal justice system to understand that the system is not perfect. There are several flaws from every standpoint. These are recent articles, literally in the last 30 days, the top 4. Pullman Correctional Officer arrested for smuggling meth into prison. 4th Green Hill Officer arrested for sexual misconduct. 3 Riverbend guards found guilty for smuggling drugs into the prison. Macon prison guards charged for intentionally not stopping an assault. That happens more than you can imagine. 4 Missouri guards charged with murder. Kansas correctional officer arrested with sex trafficking charges, 3 counts of trafficking a minor, 3 counts of sexual assault, placed on administrative leave. Former Kansas correctional officer gets probation for trafficking and contraband into the prison. I ask you, if you trafficked drugs, illegal cell phones into prison, would you get probation? Likely not. Ethically challenged Kansas prosecutor finally disbarred. Why does it say finally? She framed an innocent man knowingly, and it took years for the system to actually disbar her. FCI Thompson, a warden that was trying to make actual change in the system because of the corruption. So he knew there was corruption going on, was notified by inmates that the guards in that system were trying to get bribe inmates to actually take him out. Kansas correctional officer charged with trafficking meth into Larn. KDOC employee arrested on charge of inmate sexual relations. Wichita police officer arrested in connection with sexual abuse of a child in Oklahoma. I bring this up for one reason and one reason only. You need to understand who you're helping when you help the formerly incarcerated. It's important to understand both sides. There are 2 sides to every story. So that's one thing I want to get across. Now, my story, in case you don't know me, I grew up in Los Angeles and graduated from Azusa Pacific University with a degree in business administration. I then worked at 2 Global 500 companies in their executive training program. I soon realized I didn't love the corporate life. After that, I started a digital marketing firm, which worked with several hundred clients worldwide. We saw significant growth year after year and generated over $1.5 billion of revenue for our clients. We experienced significant growth nonstop. My father, Dr. Keith Phillips, founded World Impact, which is a Christian ministry that is focused on the inner cities of America. Growing up as a missionary kid, then a successful entrepreneur, the next obvious question would be, why prison ministry? My experience with the criminal justice system was abrupt, to say the least. On April 25th, 2017, I was arrested by several federal agents for the use of interstate commerce to commit murder for hire. At that moment, I made the mistake of thinking that innocence or guilt actually mattered. Sorry. Used to not doing two hands. I soon realized that the resources that were invested in arresting me really only had one conclusion, no matter what the facts were. Career-focused agents and prosecutors have the power to paint any picture that they want and have unlimited government resources to ensure a victory. In the news in the past year, you can see that no matter what aisle you're side when it comes to politics, both sides have seen that a prosecutor has a lot more power than most of us thought. In my case, the trial judge said that my case was the most complicated case he had ever seen in over 20 years. That's never a good sign for a defendant. Evidence was withheld. Witnesses were encouraged and blatantly lied under oath. I was not able to testify, and as a first-time offender, I was not given bail for a crime I did not commit. There is a reason the federal government has a 99.6% win rate. I refused to take a plea deal, which offered a significant time reduction, but would have forced me to admit to something I did not do. I went to trial, shocked, lost. I was sentenced to 90 months in federal prison. The appeals court found that there was error in the trial, but it was quote-unquote harmless. The appeals court ruled in quote-unquote the district court abused its discretion by not allowing all evidence to enter the trial. It's hard to imagine how any error in a jury trial, which was split for multiple days, could be considered harmless. The first death I witnessed in prison was a handcuffed inmate that fell from the second floor, head first, directly in front of my cell. There was a scream, the loud sound of the scream, and then the sound of a watermelon essentially crashing into a cement floor, followed by blood slowly seeping underneath my cell door. I saw 9 different people die while I was inside. Violence is expected in prison, it still shocks you. It's nearly impossible to go to prison and not have to defend yourself at least a few times. I was shocked also by the amount of corruption in prison. When I was transferred to a prison in New Orleans, the first day a guard approached me and handed me a small piece of paper. That piece of paper had his email address on it. He said cigarettes would be $30, pills $40, then listed out meth, heroin, other drugs. All the email address was so my family, friends, whoever, could then pay him through PayPal or whatever that source is. This was the same exact prison. Literally 3 weeks later, in the cell next to me, they found a loaded handgun in that inmate's cell. He was planning an escape on his next transfer, which was 2 days away. In prison, you can literally, no joke, buy anything. However, the most shocking thing to me was the long-term hopelessness inside. When you are inside, there is a realization that there is no hope for success after you're released. The reality is that after you pay your debt to society, society still wants nothing to do with you. I was able to mentor several men while I was inside. I helped with legal paperwork and other things. I was one of the few higher educated guys in there. Talking about the future was always a nice thing. It was always nice to talk about what are you going to do after? What's your plans after? It was always followed by, I can't wait to see my family. I can't wait to see my friends. I can't wait to eat real food. But it was always followed after that by, I hope I stay out a long time this time. They always said that. And then I never understood it. It never made sense to me. And the reply to that was, you'll see when you get out. The system is absolutely built against us in one way or the other. The amount of people that know they're going to be released but have little hope of success after prison is just hard to understand until you see the statistics. It's hard to understand until you live it. The national recidivism rate hovers around 68%. That means of the 600,000 inmates that are released in the last 12 months, 600,000 last 12 months, 408,000 of them will be back in prison within 3 years. That number after 5 years jumps to 79%. So what are the main factors of failure? And then also, really, what's the need? That's something else to cover. So first off, there are currently 2.2 million people currently incarcerated in the United States. Incarceration has increased the U.S. poverty rate by 20%. As Christians, why is that important? Because we are called to help the poor. That is absolutely true. Adults in poverty are 3 times more likely to be charged with a felony. Why is that important? Because a felony carries longer sentences and higher fines. If you're unable to pay your fines, where do you go? Back to jail. Children of incarcerated parents are 6 times more likely to become incarcerated themselves. The most staggering number is the bottom. A family's probability of being poor is 40% greater if their father is incarcerated. Now, to get to employment, because I know there are a lot of business owners here. 27% of the formerly incarcerated, recently released, are unemployed. A study of 50,000 federal inmates found that over a 4-year period, 33% never were given the chance at a job. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that they were choosing not to look because they have to look. It is part of probation. If they don't look, they go back to prison. That means nobody was willing to take a chance on them. No one was really willing to give them a little bit of grace. When it comes down to it, with the issues and the main factors of failure, the first being education and training. So within the state and federal systems, there is a true lack of training and education. This is true in Kansas, this is true in the federal system, this is true within every state. Almost all state and federal prisons offer GED programs, which are meant to train you to pass the GED, and literally, that is the goal. That is the level of education. The prison I was at in Massachusetts, other inmates could pay another inmate to take the GED on their behalf. The guard was absolutely okay with it, because all that did was increase his success rate. That made him look like he was doing a better job than he was actually doing. I do not want to pretend that there is nothing good out there, because there are. And there's good programs. In Kansas, a great example, Seeking. Seeking is at Hutchinson. They have a factory there. They're trained inmates. They teach inmates how to be good employees, and that's a great program. Once released, Wichita State University Tech has a true heart for giving second chances. There are a lot of companies out there that want to help. There are not enough, though. Goodwill has a Next Step Alliance, another place that actually makes a difference. But they are few and very far between. Housing would be the next issue. So you're a felon, you have a record, nobody wants to rent to you. So if you are a property manager, if you own a house, if you rent out that house, consider renting to people that have records. I am not saying openly take anybody and everybody. I am saying when somebody applies, do not immediately disqualify them because they have some type of record. Take 4 minutes, look at them as a whole person. Again, we're called to help the people that have no housing. Interestingly enough, of the Kansas inmates that are released, 23% are released directly into homelessness. There is a serious problem of homelessness in Wichita. In LA, where I'm from, incarceration is a big cause of it. Acceptance is another big issue. So I can talk all about second chances and third chances, and fourth chances, and fifth chances, because my story is long, a lot longer than that. But I have been given all those chances. I think that we can all think of a scenario where we were given a second chance. As a society, we have to do that better. As a church, we have to do that better because some churches are not as giving of second chances as they should be. When you think about it, where would you be? You have a person, I promise you, in mind that you're thinking about right now that extended that second chance for you at some point in your life. Where would you be if they did not give you that second chance? Employment. So, business owners, movers and shakers of Wichita, people who know people. This is where you can make truly the biggest difference. All that is important. But you can make the most significant impact with hiring and giving guys second chances. That recidivism rate of 68%, 85% of those that went back to prison were unemployed. The recidivism rate when they were employed was only 9%. There is direct correlation with work and staying out of prison. I want to give 2 quick real-world examples. The first, one of our members, Farron, was recently released to Wichita by choice. So he was from a different state. He chose to come to Wichita because he did not want to go back to what he called the lion's den where he grew up, where he knew every drug dealer in town, where he knew how to make a quick $300 at any point he wanted to, and where he could get anything he wanted. Part of our training program, so we do inmate training. We have a 52-week guide that we send all of our inmates that are inside. So we have dozens, well, more than dozens, but we have several inmates throughout. They work off of this training book. It's a 52-week program that teaches them all those life and practical skills. One of them is thinking ahead, making strategic, smart choices. He made a choice of saying, I am not going to go back to where I came from because I will fail if I do that. He came to Wichita, he applied to 2 different jobs immediately. He wanted to do that himself. He was quickly, the job he wanted, given an interview. He was excited about it. He went to the interview. 5 people interviewed him during that time. He did well. They then called him and made a job offer with more money than he was even expecting to make. They said, you need to do 2 things before we can hire you. First, a drug test. No problem. He's been sober 8+ years. And then we need you to do a criminal background check. He forthrightly told them, I have a record. It's from 10 years ago. They said, we will not hire you because you are a felon. He asked about that. Again, they said, any criminal history at all, it's not going to happen. So he is a non-violent offender from a drug-related case over 10 years ago. He was trying to do the literal right thing. All he needed was a little bit of grace, just for somebody to take a chance on him. Ironically, it was a religious organization that chose not to hire. Another guy I mentor has been out for 2 years. He is working in landscaping. So for him, his income goes down December and January because of the weather. Happens every single year. Makes sense. He, this past year, decided, I am going to get a full-time job anywhere that will hire me so that I can save up money to buy a car. He doesn't have a car, but his long-term goal is to get into construction. With that, you have to have reliable transportation so you can show up at job sites. That was his goal. I want a job because that's my career path. He was thinking strategically about what he is going to do in the future, making smart decisions. He has no history of violence, drug charge. He applied everywhere, including McDonald's. No one would hire him. He's trying his hardest to do the right thing and just needs somebody, just anybody, to give him a second chance. That's where business owners, that's where we as Christians come in, that we're supposed to take that chance. So how can you make a difference? One way is to improve your business. How can you make a difference, improve your business, and change a life? Because if you're hiring the right people, you will change their lives by giving them that opportunity. Both of the gentlemen I mentioned are fully employed now through people just like you that have heard me speak and said, if you have somebody, give me a call. And they were both hired quickly. Both have been given promotions. Both have moved up in the company, even increased pay raise, everything. They're more loyal. Studies have shown they're more loyal. They're more appreciative of the job. They will stay with your company longer. They will do everything they can to keep the job. And I also think it's important to note that prison does create good employees. So prison habits, when you're looking for a good employee, you want someone that is on time. Time management is something that you learn, and you learn quickly in prison, because if you're late, you get thrown into solitary, or you don't eat. Habits. In prison, you have that same exact habits day after day. And that translates very good to employees. Self-control. If you want to fight, you can fight anytime you want in prison. Choosing not to is self-control. You learn a different kind of patience when you're inside. People that have been incarcerated make good employees. They have been trained that for a very long time. We also have a strong biblical calling to prison ministry. I want to reiterate that because we are a Christian ministry talking to a Christian organization. Isaiah 61. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, proclaim freedom for the captives, release from the darkness for the prisoners, turns crowns of beauty into a crown of beauty instead of ashes, and so on. There are tons of verses, 84 different times in the Bible, prison is mentioned. It is something we are directly called to. Some of you have heard me speak before somewhere else. Some of you have heard from other prison ministries. Some of you have chosen to be involved. Some of you have chosen not to be involved. The verse I like to bring up in response to that is, you know there is a calling. There are significant steps you can take as a Christian business owner, as somebody within the Wichita community. Do not just listen. Do not merely listen. Do what it says. I am calling you today to not just hear what I'm saying, but take one small step, a tiny step, a little bit of action today. And there's going to be opportunities to do that. And it's not money involved. unless you want to, of course. So first off, we are called the prison ministry. Second, there are people in your congregation. I know there's one pastor here. Promise you, there are people in every single congregation of your church, wherever you go, that are dealing with incarceration one way or the other. They either have family inside or know somebody from somebody that has somebody inside. You can make a difference very, very easily by talking to them about it. A lot of people are just afraid to bring it up. Men's Bible studies. If your church hosts any of those, we would love to present. We've had great success with getting mentors at men's Bible studies. We only deal with male prisoners at this point. That's why I say men's Bible studies, so you know. So at one, we had 50 people show up. Of those 50, 5 volunteered to become mentors and have followed through with it. Another one, 10 people came. 2 people turned out to be mentors and are sticking with it. We get good success. Give us that opportunity. Talk to your pastor. A real conversation about donating one Sunday to Brand 316. One Sunday to bring awareness to your congregation. One Sunday to talk about something nobody really wants to talk about. That everybody's scared about until you're not scared about it. It sounds scary. It's not that terrifying of a ministry. Couple more things. So if you know somebody incarcerated, family, friends, I encourage you to refer them to us. We are very good at getting in touch with them. Just tell us a name and a number. We'll reach out. We send them the application. We send them materials. We start training them. It doesn't matter where they are in the United States. Secondly, we have a Christmas card program we started last year. Hundreds involved, and it made a gigantic difference for inmates inside. This is literally take 5 minutes to write a letter and commit to 7 days of prayer for that inmate. That's it. You could sign up on our website. It is a simple, easy action you could take today to make an actual difference. We need mentors, as all ministries do. If you're interested in becoming a mentor, we ask just for 1 hour a week and a 6-week commitment. It's not overburdening. Everybody goes after 6 weeks, but we do not want to press you too hard on it. But 1 hour a week, 6 weeks, it makes a difference. And you're going to learn more than you think you will ever learn from their experiences inside. We always ask and believe in the power of prayer. So commit to praying for Brand 316. James 5:16 says it the best. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and quite effective. Pray for us. Business owners, hire somebody. Take that risk. Don't ignore the application because they have a record. Meet the person, know the person as a whole. The government incentivizes you to do this. There's the work opportunity tax credit, federal bonding program, so insurance, so if something goes wrong, you're protected, your business is protected. There are things that you can do today to make that a reality. Now, simple ways also for a financial standpoint, we are hoping to be self-sustaining by January 2026, so we do not ask for money. One thing that we do is we have companies that support our ministry. Say What Marketing and Consulting is a digital marketing firm I started based off of what I was doing before. I've done that for years. 31.6% of all profits go directly back to Brand 316. Lawn 316 is another company. Mowing Your Yard Weekly, all of that stuff. We are not only employing our guys, we are also supporting our ministry. There are ways to make a difference, but you have to stop listening and actually take that step and do it. This is our website. You can sign up on Brand 316 if you want for our newsletter. More importantly, feel free to do a Christmas letter. It's easy, simple step you can do. If you have any questions, that's my email, that's my cell phone number. We have pamphlets up here and my business cards, and if you want to see this, also we have a 52-week Bible study, which is something else focused on second chances that we use for our inmates that are inside. I appreciate you all. Thank you for hearing me out.